Ow!
It was hot. I can't touch it very long.
Oh.
Hello adventurers and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be cooking something very exciting. Riley's back here getting everything ready and I have pulled out a bunch of ingredients, and today we're going to be using the Omnia to do something absolutely awesome right here at our beautiful campsite. Come along with us and cook up some Mexican cornbread. Now today this campsite is absolutely perfect for us to get out and do some outdoor cooking. I love to do this and I hope that you'll follow along with this recipe. It is one that I make at home, but I can also make on the road. And this is all made possible by being able to use the Omnia. If you missed out on the Omnia previously, I'll leave a video below. But long story short, this thing came from Riley's mom. She sent it with Riley and we've been trying to cook up a storm ever since. And it allows us to bake things that otherwise might be a little bit more difficult to do so. Okay, best place to start this is with a pound of ground beef. And I always like to wear a glove because it gets pretty nasty. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this and then throw it directly in here so I can dispose of it properly at our camp. Okay, so in we go with 1 pound of ground beef. And then I'm going to add a little bit of garlic and some taco seasoning to that and put it in here as well. But for now I can throw this glove away because we're finished touching the raw meat. There's a little bit of that juice in there too. I really like the garlic with the juice. Now this particular cornbread is something that I've made many times before, and it's something that's just really super yummy for not just one person. I would never make this recipe just for me, but for 2 people like me and Riley, this is gonna be perfect, and we'll probably have some leftovers. So this is gonna be very exciting. I just need to cook this down just a little bit and get it all ground. You can also add onions to this if you would like. Today I decided not to do the onions because we're going to have some other ingredients in here. So this is about to be so tasty and I'm so excited to be sharing this recipe with you all. I think a lot of people miss out on the good of camp cooking. They come to a campsite and they might think, oh, I'll make hot dogs or burgers or something like that. But in all reality, you can fashion any recipe that you would cook in a standard home to a campsite. It just takes a little bit of creativity. Now, instead of having a full service oven or a big, huge stove, we're using a tiny camp stove for all of this. And these are things that you can just find at the camping section of any store, and they run off of little butane cartridges. Now, while the meat is browning, I'm actually going to use this little wok that Riley carries with her and just a regular spoon, and we're going to go ahead and start mixing up the base for our cornbread. Now the cornbread components are very simple. You use egg, milk, and then one of these little mixes that you can pick up at your local Walmart, and we're gonna put them all in and mix it up really good, and then we're going to open up 1 can of cream style corn. After that's mixed up, then I'm ready to start putting in some cheese, and we'll add some cheese to this until it's a nice thickness, and by that point we'll be ready to put in the meat component. But before we do, I'm gonna add something pretty special to the meat. I'm gonna add a can of green chilies. The green chilies are going to complement that taco seasoning and really absorb some of that flavor and also add some nice little spicy notes. But I did pick up some mild because Riley is a little spice intolerant. So with that, there's always options. Just fashion your recipe for the people that you're cooking for individually. If you like something a bit more spicy, you can use the hot ones. I don't have a measuring cup with me, but I'm pretty good at eyeballing things, so in we go. And then what I'll do is I'll mix it, and then if I need a little bit more, I'll add a little bit more. It's always easier to kind of add more than to overdo it and then be like, oh no, what did I do wrong? Now it doesn't have to be a super wet mix because we're gonna be adding in that cream style corn, but it does need to be wet enough that we can get all of the little lumps out of it. So as I'm kind of whisking in this egg specifically, it needs to be equally divided into the pan, and then it's gonna be so good. Okay, now we're just whisking in that cream corn and making sure that it goes all the way through the mix. We don't want any little bit of the actual cornbread mix to not have a little bit of that cream corn. Now what this does whenever we're eating it is going to be these little bursts of happiness as you hit one of those pieces of corn, but also as we add the cheese to it, it's going to be little pockets of golden joy. Now cheese is one of those things that's pretty subjective on how much that you use. I like to use a considerable amount because I like to be ooey gooey delicious, but you don't have to use as much, or you can also use other styles of cheese. I just prefer the mild cheddar. It just has a little bit better of a bite and a kick to it whenever you complement it with both the corn and the green chilies. So I'm going to sprinkle in probably about half of this bag realistically, but I may actually do a little bit less and then put the rest of it on top so it can cook up a nice little crust. Of course, once it's in, we need to, again, stir everything in, make it nice and even and coated, and that way it cooks really super evenly when we put it in the Omnia. The sizzle of the meat means it's about time to eat. I'm super excited. It really is just about patience whenever you're cooking at a campsite and trying to make the most of what you have. You can't just use a dedicated stove unless you're in a big RV or something. So finding ways to kind of create individual steps to make it a little bit closer is important. It's kind of like anything else. For example, Riley's trying to start a campfire today and the wood that we have is just not working with her. So it's all about slow and steady wins the race. Is she getting it immediately when she would like it to be there? No, but that's okay because it's sometimes just how it goes. There's a lot of uncontrollable variables in the outdoors. So there's no reason to freak out. Just take your time. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, in an attempt to make fire, I think Riley might have hit her head. I'm not sure, but this doesn't look like the normal way that people build fire.
It works. It works.
Let me explain.
Instead of like running out of oxygen and almost passing out by blowing on it, I'm using what I have because Bunny won't lend me her plate. So this is what I have. Yeah, we got fire!
You know, the plate that I'm about to use over here for our food.
It's fine, it's fine. Success. What matters is the end result. I made fire. What?
You guys ever seen anybody make fire with wok? Leave in the comments if you have.
I've made fire! And it disappeared.
He's still there. Okay, so now we're gonna use the Omnia. Again, this thing is awesome. It just comes in this little sleeve and it's a two-part system. You have to use some spray on this, so I need to spray it down first, and then also we have to have some things to handle it with because you can't just pick this up like the Ridge Monkey. It doesn't have handles. So this is what it looks like, and then we're going to open it up and we're gonna remove this part because we're gonna cook directly in the pan today. It does come with this little silicone sleeve, and then it has some different options for accessories. So we don't need these right now. So we'll just set them back in the bag because that's the best way to keep up with them and them not get dirty in the outdoors. And then we'll be greasing this. And what I'm going to do in the meantime is put this part, the bottom part, on the heat now so it can start heating up, and I'm gonna put it on like a mid-level. So I'm gonna back it about halfway down, and then after this is heated up on here, then I'll be able to just put this, which will have all of the mix, just directly on top with the lid, and then it'll cook so nicely. And I'm estimating that this is gonna take about 20 to 30 minutes to cook. I'm not sure exactly because we don't have the little thermometer that comes with this. It's an extra like $80 or something like that just for the thermometer. So if you are looking at one of these online, check out the different options, and I would definitely suggest the thermometer. That way you can kind of control where the heat is. We're just kind of glancing and hoping and crossing our fingers on this one. So when it comes to spraying it, we have some avocado oil here, and you just spray it and make sure you've covered every single piece of the cooked surface. So for this, I'm just gonna go ahead and use the spoon that I mixed everything up in and just pull it out a little at a time, and slow and steady wins the race on this one. Now to help with cleanup later, I'm going to put a couple of baby wipes inside of this so it'll absorb all of the leftover grease. That'll make it easier to clean up and use less water to do so in a little bit. Now it's time to fill up this with our mixture, and again, slow and steady wins the race on this. Okay, there it is. And then we're just going to kind of wiggle it and then tap it and then see how it evens out in the ring right there. So now we can put the lid on top, and we are prepared for this to go on the fire. So very carefully we pick it up and we move it over and we set it down onto that bottom plate, and then we make sure that the lid is on good, and we're good to go. And now we have time. So what we are gonna do now is just go ahead and clean everything up, get everything packed away, and that way we don't have to worry about it after we eat, because let's face it, we're all in a food coma after a good dinner, and this is gonna be a very delightful food coma indeed. I think it's time for the cheese. It's starting to rise to the top and get all bubbly and delightful, and so I'm just gonna sprinkle a little cheese around the rim so it can melt, and then it'll have that pull apart deliciousness. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I am excited, and I can smell a little bit of that seasoning coming out whenever you open up the lid, and it just has this like perfectness to it. It's going to be a great way to spend the evening for sure, having just something tasty, and then the views. The views here are amazing. If you didn't see my last video of this campsite, go check it out. Oh my goodness. In the meantime, Riley has finally conquered fire, so while I conquered a meal, Riley conquered fire, and now we are all set for a good evening at our beautiful campsite. Okay, it's finished, and this is what it looks like, and I am so excited to eat in just a moment. Okay, now it's time to pull this out. Now, whoa! It was hot. I can't touch it very well. Oh. So now it's time to eat, and this is gonna be so tasty. Now if you like a little bit more of a firm cornbread, you can do that very easily by putting a few less liquidy ingredients in there. So for example, instead of cream style corn, just put regular corn in there. But this is so delicious and so tasty, and now it's going in my belly. So without further ado, I am going to dig in. It's still very warm. Oh yeah, this is perfect and hits the spot after a long day of exploring. Again, if you didn't see my video previous, we took a huge hike today, and I definitely needed some carbs in my life. So this is a great way to get that, so I can replenish my body for tomorrow. If you've enjoyed coming along with me, I'm going to be doing some other recipes that are pretty easy, that are adapted from some of my favorites at home. I think that you would enjoy them. So remember guys, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time. This is about to be a real good time for me. Till next time guys, bye!